Well, I have a question. What are the most important priorities that you have discussing with your voters and hope to pursue when you're in the legislature?
Well, when I'm talking with my voters, I just ask them a couple of questions. If you would change something coming out of Montpelier, what would it be? And what's your highest priority?
Good.
And the number one answer to that is concern about the economy
Yes.
and the need to lower taxes.
Yep.
So that's where my priority would be. People say, I want to be able to afford to stay here,
Yes.
but they'd like enough business opportunity
Right.
so that their kids, or in my case, my grandkids, I would love it if my grandkids would have opportunity to be
Yes.
able to stay in Vermont. So my priorities are really reducing the size of government, reducing the scope of regulations, and by doing that, it'll have sort of a two-sided effect, bringing down the cost of the regulations, and then opening up more opportunity, particularly opportunity for small businesses. That's such an essential part of the Vermont economy.
Yes.
And I'd like to see a Vermont where people don't just survive, but where the individuals can thrive
That's great.
instead.
Good for you.
The second question that people bring up is concern about the schools
Oh, yeah.
and what's happening there. And I think right now we're really at a turning point where we're having to reinvent, we're having to re-examine what's going on. I'd like to see more control go back to the communities and even to the individual level,
Right.
so that we can really work on choosing the best educational plan for the individual student. And people are finding out right now that with remote learning, for some kids, that's worked really well, whether it's a quieter environment. I've even had teachers say that they see some students that just are blossoming in the remote
Really?
learning
Yes.
environment.
What do they attribute that
interesting.
to?
Less peer pressure.
Oh, of course.
It's middle school and
Right.
less peer
What are you
pressure.
wearing?
So
Right.
what are you wearing?
Right,
And if
right.
it's not cool to be the bright kid, they're not going to show out. Now it doesn't matter.
Great.
So I think there's a lot more
Interesting.
opportunities like that, but for other kids in person. So I'd like to see, as I said, more emphasis being placed on a more local control
Right.
and a more
I
individual
was the deputy
choice.
commissioner of education for a while, and we tried to push using the at home or the Zoom or whatever, so that like a couple of schools could hire a teacher for French or whatever, and
Yes.
one teacher, and she would spend a week in one school and get to know the kids, but they would do the learning through through the TV or whatever the system
Right.
is, the Zoom or the Teams, and I always thought that was great, but they never. So I'm not glad this happened for sure. I think the experience may open up people's eyes and make them feel more
Well, that's why I'm
comfortable.
thinking it might, and
Yep.
I think that's some of what they're calling
Yep.
like pod schools, a
Yep.
group of families. They're saying they're going to
Good for
hold
you.
school, but they can together hire a French
Right.
teacher,
I
hire
just-
an art
good for
teacher.
you.
So I think there's a lot of interesting
Yep.
things that can be looked at. So that
that's
would be a second priority.
Good. So if you're fortunate, who are you running against? Do you have a cadre of folks or?
No, it's our district is made up of 5 towns, but we have one representative for the 5
Oh,
towns.
really?
Yes.
And who is the current incumbent?
The incumbent is Robin Chestnut Tangerman.
Oh, right, head of the Progressive
Yes.
Party. I see.